Hello, this is Professor Jayanta Mukhopadhyay, Dean of Outreach and Alumni Affairs. It's my pleasure to introduce three of our illustrious alumni today. They are graduates of 1997 batch. So let us listen their story of transformation. So we have Surojit Chatterjee, who is a graduate of our Department of Computer Science and Engineering. And hello, Surojit.
Hi, Professor.
Yeah. And then Prashant Aludu, and your department is metallurgy.
That's right.
In 1997, and then Sharad Bharma, right? Sharad is from the Department of Chemical Engineering, or the same batch. It's very nice to have you all, and particularly you have given back to your alma mater, and very inspiring stories. Also, your since you are successful, you could give back. That also one point. So
the privilege and pleasure is all ours. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let me listen from Surojit first. Very briefly, you tell that what do you do after your graduations, or what are you doing? If there is any particular thing you want to share with us.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Mukherjee, and thanks to the Institute. I think we owe it all to IIT Kharagpur. So I did my undergrad from Kharagpur in computer science in 1997, graduate. Went to the US, did a master's in computer science, worked in a company for a few years as an engineer. Then I did a business degree from MIT. And then I worked at Google for almost 14 years or so. I was a vice president of product management at Google. In between, I also worked at a company called Flipkart as chief product officer there. And most recently, I worked at a company called Coinbase, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, as chief product officer. So it's been great to see all these great institutes and companies, but I have to say we learned the values and the principles from Kharagpur that we still use at work.
That's great. So what is your plan now? What are you going to do?
I am investing in a few companies and potentially probably starting my own company. So to be decided.
Good luck. So, Prashant.
Yeah, so again, like Surojit said, we owe it all back to what we picked up at KGP back in the day. I think both from getting into IIT and then going through the grounding here. So I did spend 4 years in metallurgy, but I was always a software guy, a tech guy, like by DNA. So the first 6 years of my profession were in the tech space as a software engineer. So I was an early employee at Mindtree when Mindtree was founded in '99. So saw the first internet 1.0 wave with Mindtree, mostly in the US. Then I went to London Business School to do my MBA. So wanted to transition onto the business side. So I spent about 12 years in consulting in UK and Europe, and then coming back to India with Bain. So when I came back to India, Bain was very small as a firm, 30 consultants. So I grew with the firm, became a partner, was focused on tech and digital. And the digital side of Bain got me closer to the startups in India. We started working with the likes of Flipkart, Ola, etc. So having set up the digital practice at Bain, I moved into the venture capital world with Kalari Capital. Spent a few years again dabbling with both investing in startups, but also working with startups. So that brought me closer to the Bangalore and the Indian Silicon Valley ecosystem. Spent a few years there. And as the last couple of roles, I was the head of strategy and the CEO for Facebook in India. So across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, looked at growing the Meta portfolio in India. My current role is building a new venture called Tomorrow. It's backed by the Aditya Birla Group. I'm a co-founder and CEO. What we're doing at Tomorrow is to build a digital-first house of brands focused on e-commerce in India, in fashion and lifestyle. So that's my background. But so different chapters in my life. But
great. So much of I should say your experience, you have your journey in so many different facets. Of course, I could see there is a particular thrust on uses of digital technology and particularly the management and e-commerce area.
That's right.
And it's great. And once again, good luck to you, because you are also going with a startup, what I understand, and we would like to see.
Thank you.
It flourishes. The Sharad, let us listen.
Sure. So firstly, it's a pleasure to be back in campus. I think all three of us have really fond memories sort of growing up here. making friends instead of learning from the institution. So I did my 4 years as an undergraduate in chemical engineering. Then I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. After that, it's been a singular chapter. So I joined Boston Consulting Group BCG in '99 from campus. At that time, the firm was about 15 people in India, and consulting was pretty much getting established, as a profession within the business community. So I've been with them ever since. I'm closing to almost 25 years with them. So I've had a singular chapter, within the firm. I focus a lot more on the automotive and the industrial sector. So that's where I advise a lot of family-based businesses and multinationals out of India. And more recently, we've been trying to incubate new businesses with large corporates in the digital world.
So you will be also incubating, startups and others?
Yeah, but with a very strong sort of a business transaction focus. So obviously the use of tech, but in far more conventional business surroundings.
Great. So I could see that all of you are having that entrepreneurial mindset, and your journey is mostly focusing towards that. And I could see that's a kind of paradigm shift, because I being also alumnus of this institute, and I have also my friends, and during our time, it was more of going for either research academic positions or doing some industrial job or being an engineer. Not entrepreneurship was not much there in the horizon. Very, very less. Few of my batchmates, they have become entrepreneur on their own, and we got very surprised. But now it has become almost like. So any comments on that? So I would like to listen from Surojit. What is your experience considering your batchmates and also your friends who are during that time who are graduated? Yeah.
So, my experience has been, I've been in Silicon Valley for a long time, and also I've been part of the kind of startup journey in India with Flipkart. So joining a high growth company, when I joined Google, it was still very early days, and I happened to be the first person to kind of start Google's mobile advertising, which is half of Google's revenue today. And it was an entrepreneurial journey, because building that team, growing it from zero to tens of billions of dollars, you learn a lot. Basically, your entire learning is accelerated. It's kind of like being in IIT. Suddenly, you are with a lot of smart people around you, and your learning gets accelerated because of that. And that's what makes you a better professional. So, in my experience, and I've been to multiple kind of startup companies. When I joined Coinbase, we're a very small company. Now we're kind of a medium-sized company, took it public and so on. I think in the future, IIT Kharagpur, a lot of entrepreneurs are coming out of IITs, particularly IIT Kharagpur, both in India and in the Valley and around the world. I think it's a big opportunity, and I hope the Institute does more to encourage students to get into entrepreneurship, get into kind of start their own journeys, start companies. There have been failures, all of us have gone through our kind of share of failures, but then the successes are also a step change in both your personal life as well as kind of people around you, create opportunities, employment for the country, helping build the nation. Again, that's kind of the writing on dedicated to building the nation. I think for entrepreneurship, it's essential for helping build the nation.
You said a very right phrase. It is not written like that. It was written dedicated to the service of nation, and I could see the entrepreneurial spirit that you interpret it as dedicated to build the nation. I think, and that's a very well said. Of course, they are quite equivalent in that sense. But your interpretation is much more direct. So maybe, let me listen from Prashant. What is your...
Yeah, I think my lens into entrepreneurship has been from three parts. One, as a venture capitalist, I only spent 2 years as a VC, but I got the opportunity to see a lot of founders from close quarters. That gave me not just the risk appetite, but also the ability to think big and chase your dream, even if it seems unreal. I think some of them, of course, fail, but many succeed and become very large companies like Google or Coinbase. So I think for me, that was the first lens. The second lens was actually with my brother. We built a company called Avatar, which is today backed by Sequoia and Tiger Global. It's a deep tech AI and computer vision company solving for 3D commerce use cases for global commerce. So there again, over the last 7 years, I spent 3 years with him building Avatar. And we've seen so much of a roller coaster ride, the ups and downs of an entrepreneur. while I was not the main founder, I was the sort of the advisor, counsel behind the scenes. And I could see the grit and the resilience it takes to build a startup from grounds up. We probably ran out of money 5 times in the last 7 years, despite having now raised $50 million. But in the last 5 years, just building it and just staying the course,
Struggled a
believing
lot.
in your conviction. That was my second lens. The third lens is now building tomorrow. I'm starting to see the operator side of why it's easy to tell a founder do this or do that, but doing it yourself is that 100 times harder. So that's the more recent. I'm only 1 year into it, but the journey is, I think, both exciting and challenging in its own ways.
Yeah, sure. I could see the excitement also, the way you are looking at it. Yeah, Sharad, your take on this.
So I'll have a slightly more different take, coming from a consulting lens where we've sort of worked with both startups and more larger enterprises. I think today the environment is ripe where there are a lot of customer friction points, where there are opportunities to solve problems. I think we've seen sort of, I would say in India at least, the first wave of startups. And like in any other industry which sort of starts up, there is a period of euphoria. And the period of euphoria is good because it brings down people to a certain ground level and they go back to what is first principles thinking, right? Which is really, what is the customer problem that you're trying to solve for? What's the product market fit? And establishing the basis of a business, which is to make money, right? So none of those rules change whether you're a large enterprise or a small business. And I think, post the euphoria, as we are now in a period where people are scrutinizing some of these more carefully, I think the business will come out stronger from that perspective. So I think the key lesson for anyone who's looking at this opportunity is, today the opportunities exist, but just making sure, at a first principles level, you're very customer centric about the problem that you're trying to solve for, rather than just chase numbers, valuations, and investor degrees, right? As long as you're focused on that, I think there are more and more such opportunities present in the country today.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, I should say, pragmatic approach and pragmatic advice to the current entrepreneurs, that because of the situation as we see today, it's a kind of heavy recession is going on, a lot of employments are shredded. So you have to take care of that, and those challenges are also there. I understand that. So it is related with also the economic conditions of your society, economic ups and downs, and many other social issues. Those are also related. For the sake of time, I'm not going. It's an involved discussion. I understand now. It would have been nice if we could discuss a lot and share with our viewers. Yeah. But I will just take the last questions to you. That see, all of you have given back to your alma mater, to this institute, and so what is the motivation? Why did you do so? And what did you want? And how do you foresee that this IIT educations, where should it go, and how should it be? As per your experience now, you are a graduate from this place, and also you have seen a lot. You know that now the technological environment and others. So, what are your advices in this regard? So, I will start once again with Surajit.
Sure. See, IIT Kharagpur was a life-changing experience. I can say probably for all of us, definitely for me, coming from a lower middle class background, growing up, I didn't even see a computer, maybe from a distance at the railway reservation counters only, before I came to Kharagpur. And then I graduated as a computer scientist, and I built my career in software and in companies like Google and Firebase and so on. I could not have imagined the future without the education and the mentorship I got at IIT Kharagpur, and the friends I built, the network I have now. So it was such a huge impact in my life, and I can see it will have similar impact with so many people's lives. And not just that, people like us, there are other people who are building companies, employing people, as I talked about it before, building the nation, right? Contributing back to the society. So I feel it's kind of almost our obligation, our duty to give back, to create that opportunity that I got, that I feel I was very lucky to get, to another person, and make this place, which is already a very special place, even a little bit better. So that's the motivation. So lucky to be here, so lucky to have studied in this institute and have professors like you. Actually, Professor Mukherjee, you were one of our teachers back then, and you're still teaching. And it's very inspiring to see people like yourself and others professors here who have dedicated their lives to build the leaders of tomorrow. So thank you for everything, and this is just a very small token of gratitude.
That's inspiring for us also who are involved in this education process, and students like you and all the students who are graduating from these places. We are very much proud of what you are doing. Yeah. So
for me, I guess the first motivation to give back is when I grew up in a middle class family. I always saw my father and the way he went through education on scholarships, and the day the scholarship was over, the education would have been over. That's the kind of path he took, right? And if I look at my mom, she always said, look, Saraswati is permanent, Lakshmi is temporary, right? So I think education was instilled from day zero, and the importance of that, and we really saw the potential of that when we came to KGP, and always dreamt to be in an IIT, but coming here took that to the next level. So one of the reasons I'm giving back is to, like Surajit said, be part of some student's journey who's from a low middle class family. The second is actually look at research from an applied research lens, because one of the things I think IITs in India can do a lot better, learning from global institutes, is to not just do research for the sake of doing research, but taking it all the way to a commercial startup or entrepreneurial opportunity. Now, the reason I picked AI and computer vision and AR VR is because Avatar operates in that space, and my brother's built a company which is deep tech IP, which is competing on a global level playing field with Valley companies from Bangalore, from India, right? But can we get more of those deep tech startups from the IITs, right, including KGP, whether it's computer science, whether it's other departments, like we were talking about electric vehicles to green energy to, there's so many new space tech. So can we actually put some of the money back into funding a professor who can then work with students and create the next generation of startups? So that's a goal, obviously ambitious goal, but it's good to have
very definite goal.
Chase dreams.
I think one of my reasons was my father was also an alumni from IIT Kharagpur. He passed out, he did 60 to 64 in mechanical engineering. So both of us, whenever, once I entered Kharagpur, and we used to always compare notes, and, obviously the situations were different, but both of us had just equal passions about the place and growing up. As both Chat and AP said, I think we're all privileged. We had a fantastic 4 years here, both with the faculty, with our entire batch, and I think it provided a basic grounding for us, which has, I think, served us very well in life. And I have this conversation with all our friends and all our peer groups. The bonding has remained, and the value foundation has actually served a very strong purpose as we've succeeded in our careers. So this was one of the primary motivations, both from my father's perspective, but also just in terms of what Kharagpur has given back. I think the second one, just to echo what Prashant talked about, is I think we are at the stage where there is a huge opportunity for academia and industry partnership. I work with a lot of large corporates in India, and people are looking at solutions on climate technologies, hydrogen electrolyzer technologies, low-cost public health devices, power electronics, etc. And I see the demand for innovation coming more and more from Indian industry, and I see a lot of facilities and research taking place in academia. And therefore, if there is an opportunity to sort of blend the two together, to really bring academia much closer to industry, and for industry to benefit from the infrastructure and the intelligence pool which is there with universities in India like Kharagpur, I think this would be a very, very powerful concoction. So that was sort of the second reason to sort of at least start the journey somewhere, to say, can we actually take research in an applied format, actually move towards commercialization, and that benefits both the professor as well as the students and the larger community as well. So that was just the thought process behind it.
Yeah, so thanks to all of you, for your feelings towards this alma mater. I'm sure that all your batchmates, they do share, not only your batchmates, so because now, as my role as Dean of Alumni Affairs also, I am meeting alumni too often, and I could see the passion for this institute and love they have in their heart, and they always cherish the memories of the times they spent here. And they become like kids when they come to the campus, frankly, to tell you, whether it's 70 years old or whether it is 30 or 40 like that. So it was great. So once again, congratulations to all of you for your successes, and we look forward more for that. So with that, let me end this discussion.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Thank you so much.
97 का टेम्पो हाई है 97 का टेम्पो हाई है 97 का टेम्पो हाई है